Alright, you would have seen in the last video the injectors, so plus set injectors that I just put in the Colorado. So I'm just about to start the turbo installation. So got the turbo from RPM Diesel, bloke over in Queensland. He's got plenty of comments on Facebook with other customers that have installed his injectors and turbo. So pretty happy to give him a shot. So yeah, I'll make a start on pulling this manifold off and pulling the dump pipe off, and I'll show you through the process. All right, couldn't really film much pulling this out from under the car, but just pulled the dump pipe off the back of the turbo. So there's two studs on here. I actually got them from the top. There's another one, the stud actually came out the turbo. There's another one on the left there, and then a fourth one on the bottom left over here, which I got from underneath the car. It looks like there's a little support bracket that needs to come out. So I'll pull that out, and that should be everything. I've just got, so the VNT, which you can see just here, so ECU's talking to the turbo. I've just got to unplug that and unbolt it from the turbo and actually plug that back in and cable tie it out the way somewhere. Otherwise the ECU will start tripping out. So I'll unplug that. I've got a new oil return line with the new turbo kit. So I'll put that on the new turbo. I'll blank this. That's the cooler line, the radiator fluid. So a blank plug just goes in there. And then there's a oil feed in up the top. But I've still got to unbolt the bottom manifold bolts. I've cracked all the top ones, so hopefully the bottom ones will come undone as well. So that's the old dump pipe out. It's actually an aftermarket one, but you can see the studs. So two on the right, two on the left. This one down here is probably the hardest to get to. And then from the top side, you can get to these two studs, and you can just kind of get to the one in there. But that fourth one's really hard to get to. Anyway, I've just got to undo these bolts. So I've got all the top side all cracked. I've just got to do the bottom ones now. Put a bit of penetrant spray on them. Hopefully loosen them up, and hopefully they come out. I was watching back the footage last night and realised I didn't reconnect to the washer fluid. So that just sticks on there. And I'll put that all back down. Alright, so I just loosened off the oil supply line on the top there. All the bottom bolts on the manifold are out. I've still got 5 bolts on the top holding in. I'm having a bit of trouble unplugging, you can't see it from up here, but this wiring here goes down to the VNT. I can't get that plug out at the moment. So I'm just going to fit, this is just a blanking cap on the, can you see that down there? Anyway, there's this hose here, comes off the back of the radiator, back here. I'm just going to blank that off. The new turbo doesn't need a water cooler. So I'll just pull that clip off and put the blank on, and then hopefully I can pull off this manifold and unplug the VNT once it's a bit easier to get to. I can't really see the plug, how it comes off at the moment. All right, I've just got 2 bolts left on the manifold to pull out, so I'll just leave that sitting there for now. Pulled out the banjo bolt for the oil supply line, and I'll show you what I've done from the underside. All right, so there was a bracket bolted in here supporting the turbo. You don't need that anymore. So pulled that out. Pulling that out allowed me to get to this bolt here. I believe that's the water line. I'm hoping I can just slide out this oil return line when I pull that manifold off. I'm hoping I can just pull that out, and then I've just got to get that last oil line out from up the top, and that should be everything. Hopefully that should slide out and I'll be able to lift the manifold out from the top. Alright, this is the last bolt here. Manifold's pretty much off. Bit of a squeeze. Get this gasket out of the way. All right, ended up getting the vice grips on the on that electrical plug and a bit of contact cleaner, and it came straight out. So I'm hoping I can just get this. All right, that's that oil line off. I should have taken it off before I tried pulling this out. Oh, that's it. Oh, what a mission. Wow, what a mission. Oh, God, that would mean. So, the brake reservoir unclips. It just slides in. That would have been good to know. Bloody 10 minutes ago. That would have made that a lot easier. Anyway, there's a good one for everyone else. That brake reservoir just pushes up, unclips from the rest of the overflow tank for the radiator. Oh, all right. I'll show you around. So, oil feed line, oil return line just below. That's the water feed. So I'm actually going to blank that off blank that off now. I don't need that with the new turbo. And then we'll start bolting up the new one on the home stretch. All right, blank this off. That's the water flow for the old turbo, which you don't need with the new turbo. So just blank that off. There's a rubber O-ring on the Allen head. It just seals that. So that's in. Anyway, let's get this new turbo and manifold in. Alright, put this new manifold in, I moved the brake fluid reservoir out the way this time, so should be a bit easier to fit this in. All right, just gonna drop this oil feed line in. There's a gasket to go on as well. So I'm just gonna slip this in through here before I tighten everything up. Give me a bit more clearance on that to get that oil line in. I'm just going to do that up like that for now, and then I'll jump in the bottom and tighten it up properly. Whilst I've got that dump pipe off, the clearance is a little bit better. All right, so I just did that oil feed line up finger tight for now. I slipped the return line in. I'm just gonna fit the gasket in here, and then do the 2 bolts up on the oil return line up, and then I'll finish tightening up the manifold and just got to put the dump pipe back on. All right, just finished tightening up the oil feed line. That's a 22mm, and then the oil return line, you need 2 8mm bolts right at the top. And then it just slips in into here. So I'll finish doing up this manifold, and then I can put the dump pipe on, and that's pretty much it. All right, the manifold's all bolted up. The exhaust is all bolted up. I just remounted that reservoir, the radiator or overflow. I'm just gotta put this catch can back in, so that when you take out the old turbo, you need to unplug that VNT, and the ECU doesn't. Oh, it'll start spinning out if you don't put that plug that VNT back in. So I just cable tied that out the way. You'll see that up here. I'll probably get a stainless steel cable tray to stainless steel cable tie to put that back in, just so it's a bit more solid. But pretty easy. Hardest part's just getting to all the bolts, really. That's pretty good kit from HPD. All right, that's the catch can back on. Put this hose clamp back in position. And then this one connects once I finish with the intercooler piping. You would have seen in an earlier video that I just installed a PDI intercooler and then obviously stopped where I stopped because of replacing this this turbo. So I'll get that intercooler piping in now. All right, just trying to fit the in-house fab intake pipe up, and you can see it's just a little bit still contacting where the oil filter goes, so I'll have to cut this down a little bit more to get it to fit properly. Probably needs another 10 or 15 mil taken off it. You can see how much I've already had to cut off already. I don't really want that hose clamp sitting much further back than that, so I think I'll just take that much off and see how we go. All right, got that mocked up. I just want to finish this intercooler piping and put the airbox back in before I finish tightening all that up. Had to cut that coupler. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. I had to cut that coupler down pretty short. And then I've just got this 90 to put on here. Once I put this 90 on, that'll be it, and I can put the airbox back in. I've still got the boost controller to plumb up and the exhaust gas temperature, but we're getting there. I just don't know if I'm going to finish it today with the sun where it is at the moment. All right, I just trimmed this 90 down a little bit more. So I'll just fit this back under here. Slide that onto the intercooler. Might need to take a little bit more off that. There we go. I'll just trim the intercooler side down a little bit more. All right, let's hopefully set this up for the last time. Looks pretty good. Just gotta check that there's no kinks or anything in these 90s. And tighten up the hose clamps. All right, let's put this airbox in. Just check that alignment, because this thing's massive. Obviously don't need that much. So a bit of trimming to get that in. All right, so the airbox is back in. The in-house fab intake pipe is all finished. Pretty tough to fit that. I had to cut down the piping pretty short to get that. It just seemed like this was a little bit too high. But anyway, that's all in now. I've just got to put the battery back in, and then I think I'm ready to start her up. All right, battery's back in. I'm just going to jump in the car, turn the ignition on, let the fuel pump kick in and prime everything up. I'll do that a few times before I try and turn it over. But fingers crossed, everything's all good. Just gonna have a bit of a look for any leaks around those injectors. All right, let's turn it over, see if she starts. There we go. Somehow managed to not film whilst it was whilst I was starting her up. Oh, bugger. All right, well, I thought I had everything done up, checked and double checked, but the oil feed line down there obviously wasn't done up properly, and started the car, the car started running, and then heard a bit of something on the ground. Probably lost a good 3 or 4 litres worth of oil. As soon as I heard it coming out, obviously killed the engine. But yeah, that's not what to do. That's what not to do. Obviously, thought I checked everything multiple times, but must have missed that one. So I've now got a floor full of oil, as well as an engine bay full of oil. Could have been a lot worse, I guess. Thought it was something else, but at least it's just that oil feed line, and I've done that up, and I'll top her up with oil and give it another go another day. What's up, guys? So last thing he saw obviously was a bit of oil on the driveway. So yeah, obviously the banjo bolt for that oil feed line I never did up. So started the car, was running pretty well, and then I was just looking for any leaks with the torch, and yeah, obviously saw a bit of oil, and then turned the car off and looked under the front of the car and saw a fair bit of oil. So yeah, the rest of the night I was pretty much cleaning up oil, which wasn't the best way to end it, but anyway, I've drained the rest of the oil. There was still about maybe 3.5, 4 litres of oil left in the pan, so drained all of that, changed the filters, and then topped her up. I've actually started the car since then and made sure it was idling all right. Just still waiting for the tune, the remote tune to get here before I tune the car and take her for a first drive. But I've just got to put the bumper back on, and there's a few bash plates to put on. But I'll show you what bolt I hadn't done up. You can just see on top of the turbo there that banjo bolt. So I put it in finger tight, and then did all the bolts on the underside before doing that one, and obviously managed to forget about it. But also realised I had this in-house fab intake pipe. The weld, I had it on the underside, so I just had it spun 180, and that meant that this the hose from the catch can was sitting really close to this pin. So I've since flipped that 180, which is the way it's supposed to be, and it just keeps it a bit further away from that pin there for the engine cover. So that's all good. One other thing, when I put the battery back in, the cold side off the intercooler piping was sitting real close to it was actually sitting on the battery. So I've flipped that around. I just loosened that off and gave that a wiggle to move it back in. But I've got a little bit of clearance there, and I've checked whilst the car's running, it doesn't contact there. So anyway, I'll just put this bumper back on and put the bash plates on, and that'll be the end of it. All right, so the bumper just clips in on each side. Obviously, it bolts up here. The same on this side. So that just clips in. Put these bolts in. Make sure there's nothing clashing. Alright, there's only the one little bonnet support to put back in because of that oil cooler. You can't actually fit the second one in. So just do that up. And that'll all sit nicely like that. And it's a bunch of Torx bits in here. And I think they're 8 mils up there. All right, that nutset that was just spinning. Just replacing that one. Hopefully this one lasts a bit longer than the last one. All right, that's all the bash plates back on. Just a few things left to go. So the 1/8 silicone hose, the boost hose. So I've wired up the boost controller, but to get over to this nipple here, I need another 300 mil off that hose. So I've ordered some of that. Couldn't find any locally, so that's on its way. The boost gauge is all wired up, or the boost controller. Pretty simple, just needs power. The actuator is mounted here, but just needs power, ground, the EGT probe, and then you got to run the silicone hose inside. But the remote tune kit's on its way. It was posted on Monday, and it's now Saturday, or Sunday today, so it's still saying it's in Queensland, so hopefully that rocks up early next week and I can take this for a drive and get the remote tune done, because I'm getting pretty keen to see how it runs, so hopefully not too much more to wait. Anyway, I'll leave the video here for now. Pick the camera up when we're going to tune it, so hopefully that's not too far away, and see you guys then. Thanks for watching.